Hello there, I'm Big Alias. What an incredible start to 2025 in terms of film, in terms of everything else, not so much. But Nosferatu, the new Robert Eggers film, the new Robert Eggers chilling horror film. Now you're actually watching someone who has seen the original Nosferatu film, the German film from 1922. The silent horror film, and has now seen this one. I was very excited to see what Eggers would do with it. I'm a huge fan of the film Northman. It was my film of the year for 2022. And The Lighthouse. Oh, what an incredible performance piece. If Tenet doesn't make you fall in love with Robert Pattinson, The Lighthouse will. Or maybe The Batman, whatever you want. But he has pedigree, dude. And I was really excited to see what Eggers would do with Nosferatu. And in my opinion, I didn't disappoint. He really didn't disappoint. The biggest surprise for me, and this may be slightly spoilerish, especially if you have seen the original film, but the story is, you know, it is what it is. It's fairly bare bone. I think the biggest surprise for me was that I went into it thinking, it's been 100 years. There's no way that the director is going to incorporate any of the stuff from the original film, and I was shocked, and I'm shocked to tell you that he actually did. He incorporated quite a bit from the film. I remember thinking, oh, they've gone up into the castle. He's up in the castle in the mansion. They're not going to do the whole Nosferatu comes over on a boat, you know, in a box surrounded by rats thing. They're probably not going to do that. And they did. He was on a boat in a box with some rats. Now, the character himself, Nosferatu, I will say, I don't know 100% everything about. I know that he's a vampire. I don't know if he's in any way connected to Dracula. They're both written by Bram Stoker. I can't say I've ever read the Stoker book, Nosferatu, or any of the Dracula books or anything like that. I don't know a whole lot about the character, and to be honest, it's kind of open to interpretation. There's not that much to know. You're not going to get like a backstory. There's not fanfic and lore about Nosferatu. He is very much shot in the shadows, a very creepy, foreboding character. And like I said, they do carry a lot of the stuff from the 2022 film actually over. Even the Village 2022 film, 1922 film, very different era, only slightly. Even The Village, he kind of takes over and puts his evil hand over. When I saw it, I thought, hey, that's The Village. That's The Village from the film, excuse me, from the 1922 film. The use of geometry, shadowing, lights coming through the window, even those like tiny, uncomfortable looking beds, the dealing with like the erratic, crazy lady character narratively, but dealing with that and like pinning her down and her being erratic and all of that, it like just screams that era of horror, you know, and like taming the crazy lady and all of that. And of course, in a visually stunning film, this is one of the best looking films I've ever seen. I didn't know that cinematography could still blow me away. I didn't know that there was still shots that I would be like, oh my god, how did he do that? How did he even think of that? That's crazy. I didn't know that still existed, and it's here. It's definitely on show here. Now, there have been a lot of complaints about the story being a little too thin, a little too weak, not really much going on. Again, this draws a lot from the original source, and I will say, not every film has to be like narratively dense. That's not every film has to be that way. Look at films like Dunkirk, you know, where it's just a visually pretty film that tells a good narrative visually, and I think that's what's going on here. The whole point of the film is to make you feel creeped out and like, oh, eerie and off, and it does a tremendous job of that with some insanely beautiful visuals. I don't think the story has to keep like going deep and deep and deep and deep. It doesn't have to do that, in my opinion. But if that's something that you did come to this film for, then yeah, the narrative isn't like spindly and windy and you know, a web of narrative threads. That's not what's happening here. I will say that my only complaint, personally speaking, is that the narrative does get the pacing is very strange in this film, and maybe slightly bad at times. At times it's okay, and then other times, like there's around about the third act, you know, when everything's pumping up and it's like he's coming and you know, and he's arrived. Gross. And he's there, you know, he makes it to the town. Everything just kind of slows down and takes a halt. For the first time in the film, the pacing really just like slows to a halt. and it does kind of feel as though that he hasn't really met the pacing expectancies at that point. That only lasts around about 15 minutes, and then we go straight back into it. In terms of performances, there are some excellent performances here, not from absolutely everyone. Nicholas Hoult was my biggest surprise. He really did well. He chewed that script up, did a fantastic job. I hope that Eggers can do to Nicholas Hoult what he did to Patterson, so that people can really take him seriously too. I can't remember the name of the actress, but the person who plays the lead female, best performance of the film, absolutely showed up, owned that, really stole the show and did an excellent job, especially being hysterical and all over the place. Her expressions were fantastic. It was really good. Willem Dafoe, come on, dude. Willem Dafoe's just awesome in everything he's in. I love seeing that dude on screen. I would say, by the way, that the cast is quite small. It is quite a small cast, even in terms of extras. Even when I thought that there should maybe be more extras, there's not all that many. It's a very tight-knit cast, and I would also say that despite the fact that I like most of the performances, it's a 2020s film. Aaron Taylor Johnson had to be there. That's the contract of making a 2020s film. It's like, oh, where are you going to put Aaron Taylor Johnson? I think he is a good actor. I think he's the only person in the film who just wasn't maybe given as much as he could have been or should have been. Although I do kind of feel like the issue with Aaron Taylor Johnson in this film is that everyone else is chewing up the script. It's absolutely just chewing it like it's cardboard and they're rats. What am I talking about? And then Aaron Taylor Johnson occasionally does, but it sounds more British when he does. And other than that, he's just giving a fairly decent performance. He's just not showing up like everyone else is. Not showing off, honestly, like everyone else is. So it makes him stick out a little bit like a sore thumb. Aside from that, all of the performances are great, and I have no issues there. So let's put a score on this film. Yes, I loved it. It's visually beautiful, it's haunting, genuinely creepy. It uses its lack of characters and odd space and brilliant cinematography to just construct a creepy, eerie horror film that make you feel on edge the entire time. I had a brilliant time watching it, and I came away from it thinking Eggers is just a genius. He is so good at this filmmaking thing, and I'd recommend it if you want a chilling, creepy horror film. Otherwise, it's not the most accessible film, but it is a tremendous one. An incredible film for 2025. Thank you, Robert. Give me a bit of faith in this year.
The PlayStation's only $149, and you can also get leading titles.